EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365, the final day of 2024. Happy New Year's Eve to everybody as we ring in a new year here on Birds 365 coming up tomorrow. So happy New Year's Eve and enjoy the final day of 2024. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this final day of 2024, Tuesday morning?
Well, I got a little bit of a cold, so I could be better, but I'll fight through it. It's that time of year.
Ringing in the new year with a cold, Johnny
Yeah,
Mac.
that
Oh, no.
sucks. That sucks. I blame everybody at the Eagles game the other day. Germ infested trap that it is. People got to wash their hands, but yeah. Anyway, I'll get through it.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Great game in the NFL last night between the Lions and the Niners. We'll talk a little bit about that. Some news in Eagle land. Well, not much news, but some stuff to talk about, some stuff to break down, and we will do all that today. I want to welcome and thank everybody for watching this morning, for those in the live chat, for those who are consuming the show after the fact. We appreciate each and every one of you. So hit that like button, drop your comments below. Let us know what you think of the show. I always read everybody's comments after the show is over. So big thanks to all of you guys for contributing to the show. John, I do want to ask about that. I got to talk about that Lions-Niners game, but I do want to get the Eagles updates. Any Eagle updates as we get ready for the playoffs? I know Nick Sirianni spoke yesterday, said he doesn't have a decision yet on what he's going to do with the starters. I think it's pretty obvious what they're going to do at this point, but anything out of Eagle land, anything you took away from Nick Sirianni's presser yesterday?
Yeah, a lot of we'll see. We'll see. That's
Right.
Nick's. Nick. He knows. He's not starting anybody. Some guys have to play. We talk about it's not the preseason. There's not 90 players, so some guys have to play. But the super key players are obviously going to be protected as much as possible. I don't think they're going for the record. If that disappoints people, I think the goal was obvious by how they approached last week. If people were paying attention, they wanted 2,000. A couple guys admitted that after the game. They wanted to get them to 2016 games. That was very important to them. For whatever reason, I don't even think they should listen to outside voices when it comes to stuff like that. But and then as soon as he got 2,000, they immediately removed him. There was still 11 minutes left to go or something, somewhere around that. They could have kept him, and he could be 20 yards away if they wanted, or certainly a little bit closer if that was the goal. So they already laid the breadcrumbs out as far as how they were going to handle that. And if for some reason Green Bay beat Minnesota or San Francisco beat Detroit, they would have played everybody if there was a little bit of a chance. And the NFL would have likely set that up so they were all playing at the same time. So you start doing a little bit of scoreboard watching. That's what happened last year. The Eagles had a chance to win the NFC East. But it became very clear early in the game that Dallas was going to blow out Washington. Nick was talking about this a little bit yesterday, and about his history in the playoffs and how he's handled things. They had a chance, and they started everybody, and they were going to try to win the game. Then it became very clear there was going to be no opportunity. And by that point, not only did they lose the game against the Giants, which was meaningless from that point because Dallas was going to win, but A.J. Brown got hurt. Reed Blankenship got hurt. Sidney Brown got hurt. That's the risk. And it happened last year. And I think people will say, it doesn't matter because they stunk and they were in the middle of the collapse. Maybe, but maybe not. I know they would have been a hell of a lot more competitive if AJ and Reed specifically were out there. And they weren't. So, be careful what you wish for, but I don't think you're going to have to worry about it because Nick's going to rest as many people as he can.
What does that look like, John, resting as many people? I mean, just break it down for me. Like, who do you expect to rest in this game? Because you can't really rest everybody, can you? You got to field a football team. So I'm thinking O-line, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, AJ Devontae, probably like Jalen Carter, obviously Darius Slay, an older guy.
Yeah,
Maybe Zach
anybody's got it,
Bond.
like N'Kobe Dean, Zach Bond. Yeah, you'll probably see a lot of Trotter and Oren Burks.
Right.
You know, some of the younger players, maybe they give them a little bit of time. The Josh Sweats of the world, the guys who rest on Wednesdays. So you'll see tomorrow. You'll see the big list of rest players. They're not going to play. Most of the offensive line, probably all of the offensive line, as you mentioned, AJ, Devontae, Jalen, Saquon. It's interesting because they have more on offense than defense, but the defense is technically better.
Yeah, right.
But we talked a little about comparing them to the Lions offense. It's like comparing anybody to the Lions offense is like light and
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because that offense moves the football, Johnny Mac.
yeah, it just looks so easy for them.
I mean, it really does.
It's really impressive to watch, but and you look at the Eagles' talent and you say, why can't it be like that? Well, I don't know. If they knew, they would fix it and they do it, but
It
it's
certainly doesn't look like that.
no.
Like I said to you before the show, people can tell themselves whatever they want.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
offense with all this talent looks nothing like an offense like that.
and nobody does. I mean,
yeah,
no, Kansas City 15, technically a better record. They're going to rest their players. Minnesota, which is going to get a shot at Detroit next week. Great offense, but it doesn't look like that. So there's no comparisons. Buffalo doesn't look like that. Nothing looks like. You got to go back to the greatest show on turf, Rams, really, for the last offense that looked like that. So it's a high bar. You got to give them credit for, putting that bar where it is. And we'll talk about it, but fourth downs are a big part of it as well.
yep.
Defensively, yeah, I mean, obviously, guys have to stay healthy. Younger players, big opportunities for guys like Moro Ojomo and Thomas Booker, Jalix Hunt. You're going to see a ton of these players. They mentioned Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Oren Burks at linebacker, Isaiah Rogers will probably play the whole game. Tristan McCullum, Sidney Brown, which will be big for him. These are the players I think you're going to see a ton of on Sunday. And that's how they should handle it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing. Just to play devil's advocate on it, John. This is a historic record, man. It's hard. I know that they're fighting for a bigger goal, but let's just say this team gets bounced in the playoffs. I mean, you got one chance at this, John. One chance. Saquon Barkley's never going to rush for 2,000 yards again in this year, or at least most likely not. I guess I should never say never, but I put it at less than 5% chance. Just to play devil's advocate, you had 16 games. You could have got hurt in all those 16 games. Now you're going to shy away in the last moment when you're 101 yards away. Any chance the players are in that room like, man, we want to play. We want to get this record. It's not just
I think you saw it last night. I mean, technically that game was, now it's a little bit different, but that game's not relevant to Detroit. Dan Campbell got a lot of criticism for playing his guys. Now, I think it's a little bit different because you'd be stopping during the season and then expecting to start again in the regular season and finish off. Because even if they lost that game, they're still, if they beat Minnesota, they're still the NFC North champions, the number one seed. So last night's game meant nothing. And they fought and they went out there and it looks like they got out of it pretty clean. I wasn't paying that close of attention, but I didn't
see it. Yeah, there was no big crazy injury in that game or anything.
So, you can, he got a lot of criticism. I think it's a little bit different for the stop and start aspect of it, but Yeah, I mean, Joe Banner put out there yesterday, former Eagles president, really the start of this era of Eagles football as far as building the organization with Andy Reid and Jeffrey Lurie. Tweeted, I know the Eagles people and culture pretty well. I would be beyond shocked if Barkley plays next week. The entire culture is built around team first and to celebrate individual success, but it's a distant second to team first. The team first part drives everything they do.
And it
It's the
is
reason,
even the quarterback embodies that. You know, when
yeah,
when they ask him about his statistics, and he goes, "I don't care about my
yeah.
statistics. I want to win games." So you're
I
right.
mean,
That
they
is
they
the
they
culture.
drive it
He
home,
goes
and
with.
that's for fans. They should That's one of the reasons. That's as simple as it sounds, that sets them apart from most organizations. Um, and yeah, I mean, again, situation matters. If they weren't a legitimate Super Bowl contender, even if they were a 7 seed like they were in 2021, I would listen to those arguments and say, yeah, go get it. Go try and get it because it is a big record. But when you're a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and I think there's about 5 legitimate Super
Right.
Bowl
I agree with
contenders.
that. 5 might even be. Yeah, 5's probably about where I'm
Um,
at too.
no, I can't. I'm sorry. No, I won't even I'm not even debating it. It's not even a debate to me. And I think and the best part is I think Saquon understands that. I don't think he's got a problem with it. That doesn't mean he wouldn't like the record. Again, he talked about it the other night. Everybody's a human being. Of course you'd
Right.
like the record. Just like Eric Dickerson doesn't want him to break the record. But part of this is, there's 2 things about this record. You got 3 things. You have to be phenomenally talented, obviously. 2, you got to stay healthy. You got to be able to handle the grind of that many touches to get to that point. And 3, you got to be on a good team, but not a great team. Look at the record. From O.J. Simpson, bad team, ran the ball well. To Eric Dickerson, good team, not a great team. And guys even pushed. Adrian Peterson, who I covered, average team. Chris
Yeah.
Johnson, good team, not a great team. Sean Alexander had a big year. Good team, not a great team. I don't want that. I mean, I want it for the player.
I get exactly what you're saying.
There's loftier goals. There's loftier goals. And I think everybody in that building is on board with it. And there's a couple guys who say, yeah, play the fence and say, yeah, I'd like to go for it. I know I was just reading our buddy BLG's Bleeding Green Nation saying some of the offensive linemen said they want to go for it. They all know they're on the same page. There's some guys that are political, like Jordan Mailata. You'd love to get it for him, but he knows he's not fighting to play. He knows the situation. They have a chance to have a great team, and that overcomes because no one's going to feel satisfied the only way you feel satisfied, you want your cake and eat it too, is if Saquon gets the record and you win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want the cake and eat it too, Johnny Mac.
And that'd be great. And if it happened organically, great. Didn't. And one goal is pretty significantly greater than the other.
That's true. I want them to get it, but I understand what you're saying, and I'm also aware that the organization is 99.9% chance not going to play the starters. So I do understand that completely. John, I do want to talk about a couple of the Eagles' upcoming playoff opponents. We already know. So for those just checking in, for those who might not be privy to what's going on in the NFL or who can't follow it as closely, that's perfectly fine. That's what we're here for. The Eagles are locked in at the number 2 seed in the NFC. There is only 2 potential teams that they can play in round number 1. All right. So It's going to be Eagles at home, and they're going to play either the Commanders or the Packers. Those are the only two options that the Eagles will have in round one. Everybody else is locked in. So Commanders or Packers, that's who the Eagles are facing in round one in the city of brotherly love at Lincoln Financial Field on January 11th or 12th, one of those days, whenever they set the schedule. So get your popcorn ready, everybody. It's coming. The playoffs are almost here. John, that's the one exciting thing about it being December 31st. I was thinking about this last night, and I'm like, man, December 31st, we're really reaching the end of football now. I mean, this is the crunch time. In a month and 10 days or whatever it is, we're going to have a Super Bowl champion. So lock in, everybody. This is going to be the best month of the year, and the Eagles are a Super Bowl contender, a legitimate one, as John pointed out. So it should be a fun run, but those are going to be the two teams. Before we talk about those two teams, John,